Hello, everyone. Prince Harry's hotel escape, the price of freedom, or the cost of bad choices. Recent revelations from former Archwell staff suggest that Prince Harry may have taken up residence in a hotel, ostensibly to escape the suffocating environment created by Meghan Markle and her mother, Doria Ragland. Reports that Harry might be living in a hotel room are not entirely surprising. The whispers of his discontent at home have been circulating for months. What remains surprising is how far this prince has fallen, trapped in a life he supposedly chose for its freedom and privacy, but which now seems more like a gilded cage. Harry's decision to move to a hotel is, in many ways, emblematic of the strange and seemingly downward trajectory he has been on since stepping back from royal duties. Once free to roam the vast estates of the UK, ride horses, meet old friends, and live life with a degree of spontaneity, Harry now finds himself confined to a small hotel room, away from the comforts and familiarity of his former life. It's a stark contrast to the image he once projected as a free-spirited prince who sought to carve out his own path away from the constraints of royal life. But has he really found freedom, or merely traded one set of walls for another? His recent move suggests the latter. Living in a hotel, far from the luxurious and sprawling grounds of his childhood, Harry seems more like a man in exile than a man in control. It raises questions about whether he truly understands what he left behind and whether he regrets his decision to leave the UK, his family, and his former way of life. According to insiders, Meghan has been dishing out tough love, treating Harry more like a misbehaving child than a partner. Reports suggest that she has been shouting at him, micromanaging his every move, and keeping him under constant scrutiny. It's no wonder Harry might feel the need to escape. The images of him with his head down, looking forlorn and submissive, seem to tell the story of a man who has lost his way. Is this really what Harry signed up for when he decided to break free from the royal family? Was this the freedom he envisioned, being scolded like a child, living in a hotel room, and hiding from the chaos of his own making? For a man who once had the world at his feet, Harry's current circumstances are nothing short of pitiable. If Meghan's version of tough love involves making Harry feel like a prisoner in his own life, then one has to wonder what kind of relationship they really have. It wasn't long ago that Harry was one of the most popular royals, admired for his service in the military, his charitable work, and his easygoing charm. Now, he's a man hiding out in a hotel, seemingly running from the very people he once defended so fiercely. It's a stark fall from grace, and it raises serious questions about his decision-making and the choices that led him here. Instead of being a beacon of modern royal life, Harry now looks more like a lost soul, a man adrift, far from home, with no clear direction. It seems he has traded the stability and structure of the royal family for a life of uncertainty and isolation. What makes this all the more tragic is that it appears Harry has no idea how to find his way back or even if he wants to. In fact, some might argue that Harry's current predicament is a direct result of his own actions and choices. He chose to leave the royal family, to distance himself from his brother and father, to trade the comforts and connections of his past for an uncertain future with Meghan in California. And now, he finds himself alone in a hotel room, isolated from the world he once knew and the people who once cared about him. Is this self-imposed exile a cry for help, a plea for attention, or simply the consequence of a series of poor decisions? Whatever the reason, Harry's isolation seems to be a wound of his own making. He could have had it all: the respect and admiration of the public, the love and support of his family, and a meaningful role within the monarchy. Instead, he chose to burn bridges and walk away, and now he's paying the price. It's hard not to feel a pang of sympathy when considering what Harry has left behind. Back in the UK, he had access to hundreds of acres of royal land, where he could ride horses and enjoy the outdoors to his heart's content. He had lifelong friends, people who knew him well and cared for him, not for his title, but for the person he was. He had a network of support, a structure, and a sense of belonging. Now, in California, he seems to be a man without a country, without a purpose, and without a place to call home. Living in a hotel, far from the world he once knew, he appears to be trapped in a life that offers none of the freedoms he sought and all of the restrictions he tried to escape. It's a sad irony that in his quest for independence, Harry seems to have lost the very things that gave his life meaning and joy. There's little doubt that Meghan Markle and her mother, Doria Ragland, play significant roles in Harry's current state. Doria, often seen as a stabilizing force, now seems to be another layer of the complex dynamic that has driven Harry to his current situation. Her close relationship with Meghan, combined with her presence in their lives, may have contributed to an environment that feels increasingly claustrophobic for Harry. One has to wonder if Harry is beginning to realize that he traded one controlling environment for another. Instead of the structure and scrutiny of royal life, he now faces the pressures and expectations placed upon him by Meghan and her circle. His decision to retreat to a hotel may be a desperate attempt to find some space, some air to breathe, away from the relentless demands of his new life. So, where does Harry go from here? Does he continue to live in a hotel, a shadow of his former self, hiding from the life he chose? Or does he find a way to break free from the constraints that now bind him and rediscover the sense of purpose and direction he seems to have lost? One thing is clear, Harry needs to make some hard decisions about his future. He can't continue to live in limbo, caught between two worlds, two identities, and two sets of expectations. He needs to either fully commit to the life he has chosen with Meghan or find a way to reconnect with the family and friends he left behind. The longer he remains in this state of indecision, the more he risks losing everything: his family, his reputation, and his sense of self. The public's reaction to Harry's situation has been mixed. Some express sympathy, believing that he is a victim of his own choices and the pressures of his new life. They see a man who is struggling to find his way, caught between the expectations of his wife and his own sense of duty and loyalty. Besides, certainly, Harry's decision to leave his home and seek refuge in a hotel room raises serious questions about his mental and emotional well-being. It's no secret that Harry has struggled with his mental health in the past. He has spoken openly about his battles with anxiety, depression, and the trauma of losing his mother, Princess Diana, at a young age. Now, isolated in a hotel room, away from his family and the support networks he once had, it seems Harry may be silently crying out for help. Living in a hotel, a place usually associated with transient stays and impermanence, suggests a man who feels unanchored and unstable. It could be a sign that Harry is experiencing a deeper psychological struggle, one that he might not fully understand or know how to address. If Harry is indeed grappling with these issues, it underscores the urgent need for intervention and support, not just from those closest to him, but perhaps from professionals who can offer him the guidance he so desperately needs. Others, however, are more skeptical. They see Harry as a man who made his bed and now must lie in it. They argue that he willingly walked away from his responsibilities, his family, and his country, and that he has no one to blame but himself for his current predicament. To them, Harry is not a victim but an example of what happens when one loses sight of what truly matters. While it's easy to focus on the personal and emotional aspects of Harry's decision, there is also a practical consideration at play: the financial realities of his new life. By leaving the royal family, Harry also gave up the financial support that came with his royal duties. Now, living in a hotel, he faces a new set of expenses that might be harder to manage than he anticipated. Hotels, especially those that offer the level of privacy and security Harry likely requires, are expensive. If Harry's stay extends for weeks or even months, the cost could quickly add up, forcing him to confront the financial strain of his chosen independence. This situation raises questions about how sustainable his current lifestyle is and whether he has the resources to continue living apart from Meghan in the long term. This financial aspect also adds a layer of irony to Harry's situation. He left the royal family partly to achieve financial independence, yet his current living arrangement might prove more costly than anticipated. It suggests a lack of foresight and planning, further highlighting the complexities of his quest for freedom and autonomy. However, interestingly, the royal family has remained notably silent on the matter of Harry's alleged hotel living. This silence could be a strategic move, a way of letting Harry's situation speak for itself without engaging in further public drama. By refusing to comment, the royal family may be signaling that they are done with the theatrics and are choosing to move on, focusing on their duties and responsibilities rather than getting entangled in Harry's latest saga. This approach could prove to be wise. Engaging with Harry publicly would only serve to keep the controversy alive and further tarnish the image of the monarchy. By remaining silent, the royal family maintains a semblance of dignity and distance, allowing the public to draw their own conclusions about Harry's choices and his current predicament. Given his current situation, it's hard not to wonder whether Harry will eventually seek to return to the royal fold. The door may not be entirely closed, but it is certainly not wide open. Any return would require a significant amount of humility, contrition, and perhaps a willingness to admit that he made a mistake. But does Harry have it in him to make such a move? Or is he too proud, too stubborn, to admit that he might have been wrong? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: if Harry continues on his current path, living in a hotel, hiding from his new life, and distancing himself from his past, he risks becoming little more than a footnote in the history of the British monarchy. In short, whether this is a temporary phase or a sign of deeper troubles remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: Harry's quest for freedom has come at a high price, and he may soon have to decide whether it was worth it. Until then, he remains a prince in peril, caught between a past he cannot return to and a future he seems unsure how to face. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Please leave a comment below. It is especially important that you make sure to show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. See you soon.